Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. What I thought we'd do over the next few days is a set of simple projects for boys having to do with trapping. Trapping season is in full swing right now. And one of the best ways to teach young boys trapping is to teach them how to build simple box style traps. And the first trap we're going to build today is a live trap. And this trap is very simple to build. It's great for rabbits and squirrels, and as you can see, it's very effective. So we're going to build this trap today, and then we're going to move on and build a trap that incorporates a 110 conibear and another trap that will accommodate a large rat trap or a small foothold type trap. Stay with me and we'll get started. All right, so what we're doing is we're starting off with 4 boards that are 2 feet long. And these are going to form our box. And we'll just nail them and glue them together. But we're going to need some offset here and there, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. The next thing we want is a door that will slide down. And what we've done is we have scribed on 2 of these boards a place to make a dado right here that this door is going to slide up and down and channel inside of, because we're going to, in the end, when this box is together, we're going to offset the top of this thing and leave this channel open so that this will slide down inside. So we'll cut this down a little bit in width. We'll cut these dados out, and all of these things can be done with very simple tools, very simple hand tools, and that's why it's a good project for boys. But if you have power tools, it's going to make it that much faster. You can cut these dados out by using a hand saw and cut to a certain depth and then chisel the dado out. Or you could take some type of a table saw and make those 2 cuts and make a 3rd cut in there and then chisel it out. But either way, you're going to need to chisel this out when you're done. And we're going to make it just a little wider than this piece of board is, so that it gives it a good clear channel for sliding up and down, because this first trap that we're making is going to be a live trap. So again, it's going to be 2 foot overall. So we need 4 pieces of 1 by 8 that are 2 foot long. And then I've cut this one a foot long. It's going to be the door in the front. So let's get our dados cut in here and then we'll look at this again. Okay, so we're kind of doing all this without a set of plans, just by understanding how the trap's supposed to function. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this thing put over here and figure out how wide my door needs to be. So if I've got this setting here and here, and they're cleaned out properly, and one of them's got a little ways to go yet, I can kind of piecemeal this together a little bit and look at it and then measure about how wide this door should be. Now the one thing we're going to do, and really we could do it after it was put together, but it's just going to protect the wood if we do it beforehand, is we need to drill a hole in this thing for our trigger. And I'm just going to measure back here about 4 inches to give myself room back here to put bait. Maybe even 5 inches actually. Now we'll go 4. Again, we're doing all this on the fly. So 4 inches, 4 inches. We'll scribe a line across here. Then we'll find our center point, and this is 7 1/4. All right, so that's 3 1/2 is 7, plus 1/8 is 1/2 1/4. So we'll go 3 1/2 plus 1/8. That'll give us a center mark, and that's where we're going to drill our hole. Now we're going to use a dowel, or just a piece of scrap dowel rod I've got laying here. It's even got cobwebs on it, for our trigger, and it is about 3/4 inch dowel. So I'm going to use something quite a bit bigger. I'm going to use 1 1/2 inches to put a hole in here, because I want plenty of wiggle room here, just like we want in our door when it comes down. Got box nails and finish nails in this box. I might use a combination of both of them here before it's over with. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that this door that we've made is going to drop in that slot real easy to close our trap. Then we can take our top and get it cut to size, because right now it's a little bit long. We've got to give ourselves a little room here, so we really want to go with this top right to this edge. But we want this full 4 inches right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it from this end. And we'll mark it with a pencil real quick. We can use these scrap pieces that we're cutting off for our other projects and for the back of this trap as well. Okay. Now we're ready to get our top glued and nailed. And then we can figure out the back of the trap as far as the pieces we have to put together to make the back, and then we'll start on the trigger system. All right, so basically we've cut 2 pieces. They're just going to butt up against each other here for the back, just like this. Okay, so now we basically have the makings of a live box trap. Now we just have to figure out the trigger system, and that's pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to notch this stick so that sits down inside this box. And the notch will sit up inside here so that when it's dislodged, this will teeter and drop this door. Okay? So now we can cut some length off this door. We made it a little bit longer on purpose once we figure out the length of this, because this has to travel far enough up when it pulls to drop the door down. Okay, so we've cut a saw curve here. Again, remember it's going to sit like this. So we're going to carve it out right there. So we can just use any pocket knife or whittling knife we've got for that. I'm going to use my Mora here. And I'm going to carve that notch down this direction from my first mark into that stop cut that I just created, just like that. And I can just push it with my thumb to get rid of that material, just like that. Cut it right down to it and then stop. Okay, you want to be about halfway through the material and about no more right there. Okay, so looking inside our trap, your trigger stick goes just like this. You can see it down inside the trap, and if I pick it up, it's going to pull up on the trap because it's lodged. As soon as something bumps into that stick, it's going to dislodge and come out of this hole. And that's what we want. Okay, so this part of it takes just a little bit of tweaking on your part. I cut 2 inches off of this door because I know it has to be raised almost all the way up. And it's got to be pretty even with this, so that when this comes up, this goes down, just like this. Okay? So these two need to be fairly even. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tack a fence nail right into the top of this door. Pretty much dead center. And I'm just eyeballing that. Okay, now all I'm doing with this top of this trigger stick is I'm kind of notching it out and just giving myself a little bit of a knob on the end of that thing. Now we can start to kind of test things out and measure things. Okay, so now I've taken a piece of wire and got it the same length as it is from the door where I tapped that fence nail in. So we made that indentation in our trigger here, all right? And that will make it sit like this. Now what we need to do is we need to put a piece in here, and we'll kind of have to figure out how tall that piece needs to be. But it's basically just a resting teeter, and we'll make sure that it's on there permanently when we're done. But we want to check the opening of our door to make sure it's where we want it, so that when this trigger gets released, the door falls. That's the whole pretense of this trap. All right, now we've just taken a piece of wire and ran it through our staple at the top of the door and wrapped it around our trigger where we made our notch. And the whole pretense of this trap, or the whole precedence of this trap, is that you have bait in the back of the box, and when the animal goes for the bait, he's going to be big enough that sooner or later he's going to dislodge the trigger. When he does that, the door falls on the front of the trap and you have a live animal in the trap. You don't really need to permanently connect any of this wire. I would kind of leave it like it is, so I've got some adjustment on things, and I can pull it out to the front, bend it a little bit if I need to or whatever, because it doesn't hurt anything for it to fall free like that and the trap's set off. That's not hurting anything. The animal's still in there. The only thing I would possibly do beyond what I've done here is maybe drill some air holes in there and things like that. Put a window in there possibly with a screen so I could see what kind of animal was in there. But you're going to be able to see that a little bit through this hole in the top. And you're also obviously going to know when you open the door. But those are simple improvements that you can make to this trap. But it's a very simple trap to make for a young man. It's a good first project in making a trap box. And it's a very good way to catch animals live. It's really good for rabbits and squirrels and things like that. So I wanted to show you guys that project as the first in our series today. Folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me today for this quick video on how to make a simple live box trap. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, and for our business. For all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. We'll be back with another video as soon as we can. Thanks, guys.